Okay, welcome back to the Smash Sports YouTube channel. Today I'm joined by the founder of the British MMA Scene to talk about PFL and a couple of fights from UFC Paris. How are you doing, mate?
Yes, I'm not too bad. I'm assuming I'm going to call you Smash and not your real name. Have we revealed this yet, or
No, not yet.
Smash it is? Smash it is. I'm good. I'm pretty good. I'm noticing that I'm starting to really feel the hangover of a Saturday event night.
Yeah.
Especially when the shows deliver and you have more than one. We had PFL Glasgow and UFC Paris, so I'm feeling it. But bit of
Getting
breakfast
old, mate.
and I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So before we talk about UFC Paris, because I've got a full breakdown coming up about that soon. Let's talk about PFL Glasgow. Before we get to the big fight, was there any other fights that stuck out to you on the night?
So, first and foremost, main event,
Yeah.
pretty similar fashion, rare in the MMA world, but Stevie Ray pulled off a Scottish twister. We've seen this against Anthony Pettis in their first fight, and we've seen it again against a submission specialist like Lewis Long. Lewis Long has, I believe, 13 submission wins in his MMA career with 19 victories all in all. So it's clear that going to the ground is a favourable position for Lewis. But
Yeah.
Stevie Ray, we know, is a pretty world-renowned grappler, very highly
Yeah.
respected. We've seen what he did against the likes of Paddy Pimblett. We've seen what he's done across a lot of BJJ black belts that he's come against in the cage. So it was a good finish by Stevie Ray. I was very impressed by that one especially. And I mean, the obvious is Lewis Mcgrillen and Dean Garnett, don't you think?
Yeah. What a fight.
What a fight.
I've been trying to look at some stats, but we couldn't find them. But so many knockdowns, so many left hands. Mcgrillen coming in on short notice.
Yes, he was.
Eight
I
eight
feel
days.
like, yes, I believe it was 8 days. There's a slight conspiracy that PFL knew a little longer and maybe Lewis knew a little longer. But I feel like that was kind of overshadowed due to the amount of respect that Lewis and Dean have for each other. And
Yeah.
they've gone on record saying they've known each other for years. We saw they did the face-off, and then they did a face-to-face with Dan Hardy interjecting, and then they ended up sharing a car ride home together. So that pretty much set the scene of how these two guys feel about each other. Even at the weigh-ins, the ceremonial weigh-ins where they did the face-offs again, you could hear Dean saying, "There's a lot of pressure on us. We've got to put on a show." Lewis like, "I just want a straightener," and they did two things: put on a show, had a straightener, and Lewis came out victorious and has brought himself away into the final with a chance of
Yeah.
winning 100,000.
Coming in on short notice, and now he's got the opportunity to win 100 grand. It's not a bad day in the office.
It's not, but first of all, I hate to interject again. I want to just say probably what a lot of people are thinking, and just in case people have forgotten, we need to talk about how unfortunate Dean has been in PFL.
Yeah.
He's had two fights scheduled now with two different opponents, and on such short notice, they've pulled out. And the last time it happened, Dean couldn't get a new opponent. And this speaks to the testament of how good Lewis Mcgrillen is, how confident he felt going in there against the veteran of the sport and stepping in on such short notice as it is. So props to Dean, huge props to Dean for even taking the fight. We know that there's some fighters that will be given a short notice opponent and won't do it, and then whole events are cancelled. So
Yeah.
stuff like that happens. So props to Dean for putting it through, and it's just turned out to be potentially one of the pillars of PFL Europe now.
Fair play. Any man, any time for Mr. Dean. Do you, in terms of how the fight went, do you think this is like sort of a testament towards like Dean's chin? Obviously, he did get knocked out in the end, but it took like, I feel like the first 10 shots would have killed anyone else other than him.
Well, the first 10 shots have, in fact, took everybody out. If we look at Lewis Mcgrillen's success right now, he's had 10 wins. He's 10-1. Obviously, the Maya fight was a blip in the record. But with 10 wins at professional level, 9 of those wins of his 10 have come via that left-hand shot. And the vast majority of those wins have come via the first left hand that has clean landed in the previous fights. So for Dean to take as many as he did in one fight as all of the left hands that Lewis has thrown in his whole career is a testament to that chin. I know they say that they're scousers, they don't get knocked out. I still think that reigns supreme, despite the despite the finish, because this is quite a nuanced issue to me. When we look at Tapology in 3 or 4 years, or we look at Sherdog in a few years, it's going to come up that Lewis wins by a KO, and it's not. It doesn't do justice on the chin and the durability of Dean Garnett, and I hope that narrative reigns supreme in years to come as well, because that was one hell of a fight, and it takes two to tango.
It's one of them ones. Don't remember the result, remember the fight. Okay, is there anything else that stuck out to you during that performance?
The Shanelle Dyer fight raised a few eyebrows. The split decision. And this is from no biased perspective of me. I did believe that Shanelle won 1 and 3.
Okay.
There was a good few people that was like, no, she definitely lost that fight. But I feel like Shanelle landed the cleaner strikes. I think she even got her down once too. So yes, you're right. There wasn't much. I mean, for the people that are saying that she lost, I can see that there was not much separating the fight, but not every close fight is a robbery. So I suppose for that result, it depends who you ask. But now we look at it, we have Connor Hughes, Shanelle Dyer, and Lewis Mcgrillen that are in the finals of the PFL European tournaments. That is 3 UK guys and girls that are eligible to win the green and gold in, I believe, December. So it's exciting times to be a UK MMA fan. So PFL Glasgow made some history.
Lots of content for the British MMA scene.
Yes, 100%. Fun story, actually. When the first few fights were underway, I was at a meal for my dear mother and father's anniversary, and I felt a little bit guilty for the first 15. I was tuning into Gemma Auld while I was tucking into a biryani, so it was quite a complicated issue, but luckily we figured it out. Gemma Auld got it done in 1, and that's another impressive one too. Gemma, she went 6-0 as an amateur. Knew that, I don't want to say age isn't on her side, because we shouldn't talk about a woman's age, but at 34, Gemma has pretty much got off to a flying start. She made her debut last year, had 6 fights in the space of 10 months, won them all, took 4 titles home as well, made a professional debut on one of the grandest stages of them all. You could argue top 2, with the obvious one we're going to talk about after. And she's got off with a first round finish, not much damage taken. So hopefully she can get in there sometime soon. Maybe also in December. Who's to say?
Fingers crossed. Yeah. Okay. British MMA. Anything else happened in British MMA over the weekend? Chris Duncan.
I was just going to help you smoothly segue into that and talk about Scottish talent. If we're going to talk about Scottish talent, I
nearly forgot, but I don't know.
Let's talk about it. Opening fight. Chris Duncan with the first round guillotine. He was coming off the back of a unfortunate loss last time out. And there is some light at the end of the tunnel. The post-fight speech was it really does pull on the heartstrings. Even got me choked up talking about how he got into the game in 2014 and why, and the reason why he fights. So he clearly fights for a purpose. A lot of people just fight for the fun of it. I feel like Chris Duncan fights for a much higher purpose. And he was pretty clinical with the guillotine finish. I believe he even called the fight off himself. The ref didn't see that he was out. Chris made it pretty clear, abundantly clear, that he was out. Celebrated, and it looked. I feel like the dramatic finish was enough to earn him $50,000 bonus. So Chris Duncan will be flying home a little bit richer. Congratulations, Chris.
Definitely sweetens the deal. It was a weird one. Bolaji sort of got out of the guillotine and then he went to sleep.
I know you're quite a big fan of Chris Duncan's opponent. Most of your predictions last night were pretty bang on. I think that was one of the only ones that let you down.
No, I picked Duncan. I knew. I thought Bolaji would give him something a bit more. Yeah. I thought Bolaji would give him a little more than what he did, but I did pick Duncan. I didn't think he'd get it done the way he got it done though. Like guillotine in the first round. Like wow. I had him down for sort of a decision, but Duncan showing there's levels. There is levels to this game.
Yeah. So another thing that I hate to interject once again, but I put something out a few days ago regarding Jordan Vucenic, recent UFC edition, and I noticed there were a lot of another smooth segue here. There was a lot of lightweights that were fighting on the card. We saw Frivola, Forestian, gruesome finish by the way, but we can get to that. I'm pretty sure you got a video coming out soon.
Yeah.
Cheeky plug. And there were a lot of lightweights that fought on that. And if we look at how Jordan Vucenic fought against Guram Kutateladze, who's a pretty high-level opponent, whose last 3 fights don't really do him justice, is there a lightweight fighter that you would like to see Jordan in there against, or is it a totally different one to the people on the UFC Paris card? Or
I don't know.
I
To
feel
be
like with
honest,
Frovola's going to be out for quite a long time now. Medical
yeah.
suspensions, pretty nasty concussion. Probably got to find his gum shield. It's wasn't really a good night for Favola, and I do really like Favola. Favola's a pretty game talent, but I think he's going to be out for a number of months now, give or take. So speedy recovery from that. But any other lightweights that you think? I'd hate to put him up against Chris. They probably have quite a pretty decent rapport themselves. But hey, we've seen teammates go at it. So who's to say?
Yeah.
Who's to say?
Chris is obviously just fresh off UFC Paris. Chris is one that sticks to mind. But to be honest, you want to see. I want to see Jordan in there with a striker. Personally, I feel like it makes for a better fight than against Guram. That was harsh. I know you're itching, but that was a harsh fight to bring him in for. I know a lot of people still picked him. I didn't, but it was a massive Jordan fan. But that was a harsh fight to walk into. And I know he's got good jiu-jitsu skills, but I want to see him fight a striker.
So strikers. And this will be with a much better camp as well. I'm not looking to make excuses, but I'm looking to point out the facts. Jordan fought, I believe, the week before, which means he would have cut weight once and then cut weight even lower to fight Guram. Because I think he fought at a 160 something catch weight.
Catch weight, yeah.
Yeah, so it was in the 160 region for his fight, his last fight at Cage Warriors, and then he cut even lower a week later, 5 days later, if you want to get technical, to fight in the UFC against a pre-game opponent looking to prove a point. So if we're looking for not so much a layer, but something that's stylistically good for Jordan, and we're talking strikers who can make an impact and some noise, Terence McKinney, what do you think?
Why not? I think
it's probably going to end in a round. It always does, doesn't it, with Terence?
Yeah.
He's pretty kamikaze.
Yeah, he is. It's throw the kitchen sink. I think, yeah, I'd like to see that. I feel like Jordan can weather his storm as well. Like, obviously, anything can happen. I don't want to say that and then bang, like first round. But I feel like Jordan could weather the storm. Like Terence McKinney comes out incredibly rapid. He's very, very, very fast. He sort of gives me like Amir Khan vibes in the terms of quickness. He is very, very rapid, but also a little bit chinny. So I think, yeah, I like that fight. I think that's great. If you want to play Mick Maynard and play matchmaker, that is a great fight to me.
Sign me up. But I mean, we talk about Jordan going against explosive and fast fighters. If we want to talk explosive, Jordan's also went against Morgan Charriere. Yeah, it was quite a debatable decision victory. Again, that was another one that I did score in favour of Jordan. But it depends who you ask. If you ask the average French person, they're probably going to say Morgan won it.
Yeah.
But if we look at Jordan fighting people explosive, he's fought Morgan Charriere, and look how Morgan Charriere looked with his Poatan-esque lead hook last night as well. Yeah. I'm sure he's got plenty to talk about regarding Morgan too.
Yeah.
Best dreads in the game. Best left hook in the game right now. He's looking good. So I don't know if you have anything to say about Morgan's performance, but quite impressive. I think another 50 Gs for him too.
Yeah, I'm glad he got the bonus. I'm gonna break down all the fights a bit further in another video to quickly go back to your Jordan Vucenic versus Morgan fight. I think people love to scream robbery now. It's it's become sort of like every time there's a close fight, it's a robbery. Every time someone's favourite fighter loses, it's a robbery. It's kind of getting a little bit old. I won't lie. Well, it's been old for a while, but I'm trying to be nice. It's getting old for me now. It's bothering me. I'd rather the fans try and move away from it now. Sometimes it is a robbery. Sometimes it really is a robbery, and more so in boxing than in MMA, 100%. But honestly, that fight was not a robbery. I haven't watched it recently enough to tell you who I thought won, but mate, every single time that there's like a round in it, people are just jumping on Twitter and going mad.
Yeah, I certainly think a lot of people are chasing the likes now as well. It's like if you don't mind me getting a little bit expletive, opinions are like arseholes. Everyone's got one. To quote Paddy Pimblett, and that was quite relevant to his decision win back in the day against Jared Gordon.
Yeah.
And it also correlates to this fight with Shanelle Dyer against Katisi. So people are always going to say robbery. I think that's down to mainly the tribalism. And tribalism is a thing that you see in various sports. You see it in football. You see it in pro wrestling. A lot of tribalism regarding shows and where they watch shows
Yeah.
and which wrestlers they're going to watch. And it's much the same with fighters as well. If Shanelle was to lose that fight, then a lot of people from, say, London would be like, nah, robbery, you know?
Yeah.
So maybe it comes from the right place and it comes from a passionate group of fans. But then I feel like at the world level, and we see these high level championship fights. So we see the likes of Dricus du Plessis and Sean Strickland, for example, one of the more recent ones. Other championship fights. I mean, because of the controversy, Marab and Sean O'Malley, you've got some Sean O'Malley fans out there like, no, Sean O'Malley won 3 and 5. If we're talking recency, so people are always going to be like it. I think that's just a staple of the MMA community. Sometimes it comes from the right place. Sometimes it comes from quite a toxic, never in the wrong type of fan base. But we have to appreciate both sides of the community because without them, we don't have the divisive hot takes that sometimes transcend into something quite big in MMA. So I'm grateful for it all, you know?
Yeah, very, very true. Okay, then to wrap this up, we'll just do like a little recap. We've got Lewis now with the chance to win 100 big ones in, I think it's Paris, the next one, or Leon.
Leon.
Okay,
yeah.
So like happy for Lewis. I know you're a massive fan of him. We've been talking, me and you've been talking about him for a long time now.
Very long time.
Like I think
2022, I believe, when we connected, and that was when
yeah,
Lewis Mcgrillen was turning professional and was that ginger kid with the KOs. Now
yeah,
he's on the mic at PFL telling us that he's about to get blitzkrieg. So
yeah. And obviously Stevie Ray again, he just loves to submit BJJ specialists. It's just what he does. I think also okay, so Scottish MMA in general, Chris Duncan, wow. And obviously I'll let people argue in the comments about Shanelle Dyer. Again, I'm with you on that one. I am with you on that one, but
it's
you
close.
know,
But I mean, like I said, we all have our opinions. We can all say who won, who not. But I suppose if you get the nod from 2 out of 3 judges, that tends to be enough. You know, if you can get 66.6 recurring of the judges to agree with you, you're in a pretty decent spot. To cap it off myself, I would like to also give a bit of a shout out to Mark Ewan and Lorenzo Parente. Parente took a fight with Stefano Catacoli on quite short notice and didn't look too far out of there. Props to Catacoli for taking that one on short notice too. It was just days ago. Huge respect to Parente for ending it as quick as he did. Same with Mark Ewan back in there. Mark Ewan has a 100% finishing rate and could have done with a pretty impactful win, and that he did. So Scottish MMA, like you said, is on the rise. It's looking good, and I'm here for it.
okay. So yeah, do you want to? Have you are you back on YouTube now or coming back to YouTube at some point?
I will be coming back to YouTube. I've been heavily inspired by you. Now you've been blasting the content out. Few personal setbacks. Nothing bad. It's just the growing pains of adulting, I suppose. This stuff isn't fun, you know. But we're getting there. It's happening. I have somebody working with me, so big shout out to Charlie King for helping me out with some of the production and some of the research that will be pretty crucial to when I do release the final / growing product. I have a pretty big 2025 planned, so if it goes to fruition, then I'm quite excited for the future. But for the most part, at the moment, I'm here for the journey. I'm here for the love of it, and that is essentially the motto until the day I retire from this. But I don't think I will, because I don't think I'll ever retire from this, because I'm just a fan at heart forever. I have been since I was 13 years old. So doing the maths, that's quite a long time now to be a fan of such a bloodthirsty sport, and to see it evolve the way it has to the point where we've got European shows getting such recognition, UK shows getting such recognition. All happens for a reason, and I'm very happy to see it. What about you?
Perfect.
Have you got anyone to shout out? Come on.
Mate, I've got absolutely no one to shout out apart from myself. I do this. No, I'm joking. Obviously, shout out Combat Cage Side TV. Sorry, he's still having some trouble setting up his Instagram. Obviously, you know him as Brawl. He used to own Brawl Season. He's coming back finally. I've been pleading with him for like 2 years to come back. Like he used to post really good stuff. We used to hit up a few collabs. I think you might have done a few with him as well back in the day. I might be getting that wrong. He does a lot of stuff for the UK and for the UFC, so it'd be good to see him. We'll shout out Combat Wizard and Modern Coliseum for getting me back interested in doing this. And finally, you, I suppose, mate. Unfortunately, I don't like to give you much credit to your face, but
No, you
thanks
don't. You
for
don't.
we have some good chats about MMA and just life in general. And I feel like sometimes a lot of us need that. We'll touch on that. Why not? There's nothing wrong with. I'm sure that even if a fan reached out, I know you're busy, and same with me. Sometimes I'm a bit active. If someone messaged me and said, "Oh, listen, like I've had a bit of a crap day. I just want to talk about fights for 10 minutes, take my mind off it." Yeah, sweet. Like no dramas. Like my DMs are always open.
Yes, and this is what I have to say as well. There's a lot of corporate media pages out there that I'm certainly not knocking. They do a wonderful job. But a lot of these corporate media pages, yes, they do have human beings behind the screen that do work actively for them and put out some amazing content. But there are also some content creators out here that are living, breathing human beings with some
Yeah,
compassion that actually do have, 5, 10, 15 minutes of the day to talk like a regular civilized individual. Um, I proudly consider myself one of those, and I have a lot of time for fellow fans of the sport because all I am is essentially a fan of the sport that is aiming to do something with it, as I believe you are too. Otherwise we
yeah.
wouldn't be doing this whatsoever. So yeah, the DMs are always open. Give me some hot takes. Give me some things to agree, disagree on, argue with you about, and make up in the end. That essentially is that. This is essentially why I do it. I mean, I initially started this to connect with people that I looked up to an awful lot, and if I can give back in another way, I don't want to be too like I don't know self preaching, but if
Yeah.
there's anything I can do to give back, that's something I'm going to do because without everybody's support, we don't really have much.
No. Um, yeah, I think you said it perfectly, mate. I think that's a good way to end it. So British MMA scene on Instagram, Smash Sports on Instagram, British MMA scene soon. Like it's not long till 2025 on YouTube, God willing, of course. And yeah, perfect, mate. Thanks for coming on, and I suppose I'll catch you in the next one.
Peace out, blessings.